One of our devs just told me the other day that he wrote more code in the last 6 months than he did in 6 years at his last job. He's got 5 Claudes going in 5 different tabs. One is doing planning on a new feature. One is testing an existing feature. One is kind of in the middle of coding, and he's, directing it to say, oh, stop, don't do that, do this. So an engineer is becoming a conductor or manager of multiple agents. And good engineers know how to multitask, to have many agents working in parallel to get jobs done in a much more productive and efficient way. That's kind of one thing. But the second is that I think what people are discovering is that you can't just kind of code and create software in the old way that you did things, because AI is good at some things and bad at others. And like, for example, the bigger the context window, the bigger the input or the task, and the more vague a task you're giving it, the worse a job it does, and vice versa. So the more narrow and bounded the problem is, the better it does. And so you have to be good at giving it these bite-sized problems. It also requires context. And so you're constantly investing in documentation, not for humans, but for other Claudes, right? Mm-hmm. And so there's a huge investment of that. We've also re-architected our entire, or architected this entire code factory, that we're using to build Frugal in a way that is designed to harness agents in a very productive way. Whereas in the past, we've kind of designed these for humans with sprints and these human review processes. And so I think sometimes engineers or people will look at these tools and they'll, use them to sort of replicate their workflow of the past and say, it doesn't do it as well as I did it before. This stuff is crap. I don't know what everybody's talking about. This is hype, and you realize that you actually have to change how you work as well. And in order to get the most value out of these things. So I think what we're seeing in engineering probably is going to translate into other functions, whether it's sales, whether it's marketing, whether it's finance and so forth. They're just not as evolved because coding was sort of the perfect fit with AI and the most advanced. But I think you're going to see this structure of people being the conductor of many agents and having to modify their workflows and how they work. That I think is going to translate into all of our job functions.